riders on the storm. Into this house we're born, into this world we're thrown, like a dog without a bone, an actor out alone, riders on the storm. There's a killer on the road, his brain is squirming like a toad. Take a long holiday, let your children play.
You're listening to Art Bell, Somewhere in Time. Tonight featuring a replay of Coast to Coast AM from October 18, 2001.
More powerful than the atomic bomb, the hydrogen bomb, maybe so. Maybe so. I've seen it work again and again and again. Now Princeton's doing the real work, and we've got about another 2 minutes to do this. And again, the easy way to do this, and it really is easy if you want to be part of this experiment, it's your last opportunity. During the next 2 minutes of commercials, simply close your eyes. Imagine that white flickering stuff on the screen with no antenna connected. Then imagine over Princeton, New Jersey, over the campus of Princeton, all of a sudden that white noise going away and becoming a solid color, any color of your choice, but solid, non-random. Make all that, drive with your brain, drive that randomness away and produce a solid color. Drive that randomness away. Picture it happening in your mind and make it solid. That's very non-random, folks, and that should drive their needles right off the chart. So, beginning right now, do it one last time, and then we are done for tonight.
Streamlink, the audio subscription service of Coast to Coast AM, has a new name, Coast Insider. You'll still get all the same great features for the same low price. The package includes podcasting, which automatically downloads shows for you, and the iPhone app. You'll also get our amazing download library of 3 full years of shows. That's over 1,000 shows for you to collect and enjoy. If you're a fan of Coast, you won't want to be without Coast Insider. Visit coasttocoastam.com to sign up. Looking for the truth? You'll find it on Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie.
You know, Jesse, people just don't want to believe that government is screwing them up. They just don't want to believe it.
They want to believe the government is looking out for your best interests. Well, I got news for you. Government is made up of people, and people can be corrupted, and evil people can get in power, and for some reason, nobody wants to admit that somehow the United States government could be evil.
Now we take you back to the night of October 18th, 2001, on Art Bell, Somewhere in Time.
All right, Richard, the experiments have been concluded, and what will happen will happen. We'll see.
Well, we'll find out in about 48 hours. I asked Dean if he could do it in real time, and he says with no notice there was no way, but they'll look at the data tomorrow. It'll take them probably a day to really crunch the numbers, and unless there's some really wow signals, which who knows, there might be. By the way, I found out what PAIR means.
What does it mean?
Princeton Engineering Anomalies Research, Department of Engineering, Princeton University.
Okay.
Just want to get that in because these people are doing some phenomenal stuff. And the coolest part is they are totally independent of what we've been looking at, and they have asked us to solve a major problem. Well, in the break, I went and looked in my computer in Redshift for the problem that they apparently are kind of puzzled by, and I think I know what's going on.
Let's hear it.
Well, I don't want to. That's not protocol. I told them I would tell them first. So as soon as I tell them, then I can tell everybody else.
All right.
But I think in the let me just give you a hint.
I really hate secrets.
I know you do. It looks celestial, and this is what the HD model has said. In other words, because of the way this physics works, because of the way you open these doorways between dimensions, so information can be communicated between one mind or another, or one group of people and another, or one machine and another. You have to have the right geometry with these spinning objects in this thing we call the solar system. And this geometry replicates on a series of cycles, be they a month, a few years, decades, centuries, whatever. You have these repeating cycles. Everybody knows about the sunspot cycle. Everybody knows the moon goes around the Earth in about 1 month.
Suppose I were to cut through it for a second, and I were to say that I've been talking to somebody I respect recently, who has told me, oh my God, Art, Sitchin was right.
Okay. In what respect?
That there is going to be something that Father Martin talked about with regard to 3 days and night, or three days of darkness. That there's going to be some information soon regarding a celestial body.
Yes.
And in the last part of the conversation, he said, "Oh my God, Sitchin is right. I'll have more on this. Talk about keeping secrets." But I just wonder if that resonates with anything that you're thinking.
Well, it would if it's a rather massive object that twirls through the solar system once every X number of years,
well,
and then replicates a set of geometric configurations with the ordinary members of the solar system that we all know and love so well.
Yes.
In other words, what I've said from the get-go is we kind of figured out the baseline of HD physics, hyperdimensional physics, is that this works in a series of windows. People have said to me, well, why would NASA be doing things when Sirius is at 19.5 and 33 or on the horizon? And the answer is that there's no real physical effect from that configuration. What it is an historical symbolic memory of the fact that there is a real physics based on real alignments, which works, which creates certain conditions that you can measure, that can literally alter reality. Now, up until a couple weeks ago, before I learned the Princeton guys, I only knew this as a theoretical possibility. Now that we've got real data and they have offered to match their data against our windows, I mean, this is pretty heavyweight stuff. Real university scientists, real computers, real academics, real work, real thinking, and we'll have some wondrous correlations that will blow their minds and other people's minds, because we now believe we understand the configurations that actually work, that mean something, that are not just symbolic. A lot of the stuff that you and I have talked about over the years, Art, in terms of NASA doing things, launching things, or flying by when these things were at certain angles, is strictly symbolic. It's almost like a shorthand. It's almost like a code. You know, we're all very concerned now that bin Laden is going to give us all codes through appearing on television, on CNN. Well, this is a real code, and it's right in front of us, and only a very few people know how to figure it out because the basis of this has been lost in the mists of history. Well, what the Princeton group has got is a set of detectors, sensors, if you want to go to the Star Trek analogy, that allow us for the first time to actually measure the bending of reality, the changing of the physical constants on a predictive basis. And if you go to their website, which of course is linked through this long article that I put up on our site tonight, you will find a ton of experiments where they have done formal predictions of various events all over the world.
Okay, so you've got let me go to my own website here, Richard, and look at program, tonight's guest info. Let me see Richard's name, and who's the enemy, the end of days.
That's the one.
Who's the enemy? Okay, under Richard's name, who's the enemy? The end of days begun, question mark. Click on that, and the article he just referenced will be right there.
And it takes you ultimately down toward the bottom when we get to the Princeton site.
Right.
You roam the Princeton site. You look at all their previous 4 or 5 years of experiments. You look at their protocols. You look at the hits they've made, the misses they've made. What's most fascinating to me, Art, is, and this is going to be controlled tonight, what we've done, first you doing it with Rush and then doing ours, we did not plan this in advance. You did not sit down with your little copy of Redshift that I gave you many years ago.
Absolutely not.
And plan to do this with certain key alignments, right?
No, that's right.
So it's a strictly random experiment. Let me tell you what my prediction is going to be. Unless we randomly hit a window, which I don't think we did because they're not that often.
Oh, here's the chart showing the, oh my God.
Yes.
Oh, my God. The terrorist attacks, when the terrorist attack occurred, this thing went...
Look at that.
Oh, my God. And
look at how it begins to rise hours before the event.
Yeah, let me see. According to this, Richard, let's see. I'm trying to look at, I see. These are times on the bottom, right? Our Eastern Standard Time. All right.
And the probability of it being random chance is on the left, on the, x-axis, the up axis.
Right. Holy crapola. This is astounding, folks. And this is a measurement of the non-randomness, essentially.
Of all these 39 little guys all over the world feeding their data back through the Internet to the Princeton computer.
Holy mackerel, Richard. All right, you can get to this by going to artbell.com. Go to program, tonight's guest info. You'll see the name Richard Hoagland. Just click on Who's the Enemy, the End of Days Begun, ? And then as you go down the screen, you will finally get to this graph that'll blow your mind. That's all of you folks. That's all of us on that day. That's astounding, Richard.
Well, it's astounding because if you look at the rest of the long article, and it's very long with lots of links, lots of documentation, it goes back 1,000 years. It charts this problem we're having in the Middle East with these maniacs, going back to a group called the Order of the Assassins, literally 1,000 years ago. Actually, on the very day of the event, which happened on 9/11, famous 9/11, the Assassins were formed in 1090 AD. If you subtract 1090 AD from 2001, you get 9/11. These people are ultimately up to their eyebrows, Bin Laden et al., in ceremonial magic. They believe they can affect history by doing terrible negative things like we discussed a few minutes ago within these windows, these time windows. They're trying to perform by killing 7,000 people on global television an awful version of the positive experiments we have conducted tonight.
Again, proving my point, I'm sorry to say.
Well, look, technology or physics is neutral.
Yeah, that's what I think too. It is a power. It is a mighty power, and
it's called free will.
That's right.
About God, it's called free will,
and it can be used either way.
It can be used either, but I will say that it's a lot easier to get a bunch of people together for a positive effect than it is for a negative effect.
I agree. Although evil minds have managed it, witness Hitler and many others.
Yeah, but they need help. They need these windows. They need brownie points. They need to ace the bet. And this probably works in terms of linking consciousness at any old time. It just works a lot more efficiently if you do it in the right window. Going back to how the physics of the universe really works in our local neighborhood, which, of course, is the only neighborhood we happen to live in at the moment. So let me go back to a couple of things. As we were going through this historical dissection of the awful, you and I talked, and I felt like shit. Can you say that on the air? It was a horrendous, mind-wrenching, numbing, depressing thing, and it took me about a month to really kind of feel myself again as I'd watched this, and I watched all the ancillary effects and all that. And
I know.
Part of what I was trying to do in writing this piece was work therapy, because if this project has any contribution to make to the well-being of humankind, it is to figure out the baselines of what's going on here so that the good guys can use it to prevent the bad guys from using it ever again. And I am extremely pleased to report tonight, and I have to be very careful how I say this, that we have had some very serious people in the administration looking